Hi again, it's Nicole, and I'm here with another helpful diabetes video. Okay, so these videos are strictly my experience, not to be used as medical advice. I made some notes last night because there were some kind of hot topics on my brain, and I tried shooting videos in my closet, and I realized that that was really weird. So I'm here doing back-to-back videos. But these are some important videos, and I think maybe it might help somebody out there. Okay. So I'm talking today about what I call the auto mode rise. This is maybe something to keep an eye on. I don't know that it's going to happen to everybody. As I said, every diabetic is different, so it really might not happen to everybody, but I'm getting a feeling based on the questionnaires that Medtronic puts out that people are struggling a little bit with high sugars with auto mode, and that has been my experience, so I've really looked into it. And I now have a theory about the auto mode rise. And this is what it is. Before the 670, when you were just a regular pumper, the only insulin you got was your basal, and when you put in for a correction or for a food bolus. Your pump did not administer insulin, and it did not stop your insulin. The 670, the one before, the 640, 630, whichever one, did kind of get into that a little bit with the threshold suspend. But the 670 is really the new one where it's giving and it's taken away. And it's sending people kind of for a loop with control. So I figured out, here's one of the differences. This minimal delivery that you get when you're in auto mode is, for all intents and purposes, is a suspend. Now, insulin-dependent diabetics are insulin-dependent for a reason, and that is because the majority of us do not make insulin. So when our insulin supply is cut off, it means we don't have any, and that is going to result in a high blood glucose. So when auto mode puts you into minimum delivery, it's cutting off your basal. Now, if you've ever put on a suspend, you know, it's standard stuff to see that your sugar is going to start to climb. But what's funny about it is your pump can turn itself off, put it on minimal delivery for up to 2.5 hours before notifying you. So you can be walking around with what you think is a 90, and in your mind you look a couple times and you're like, that's a good sugar, everything's good. And then next thing you know, you look, it's a 140, and it's like 163, 2 arrows up, and you're thinking, I didn't need anything, like I don't have any idea. What I see is that this starts to happen because my 90 is alerting my pump that maybe I'm gonna start crashing, and my auto mode is putting me into minimal delivery. And as I said, it can go for 2.5 hours before I realize that it's done it. So sometimes I'm climbing and really climbing before I realize what's happened. And then, as I said before, I exit and I get out of auto mode, whatever. That's not what this video is about. So this is what I wanted to say about this climb. I think that in the beginning, it made me hate auto mode, and I didn't want to be in auto mode because I felt like I had this friend in my pocket, which is an unusual visual, who was kind of helping me control my pump, and that was frustrating because I didn't always agree with what it was doing. And the biggest problem is I didn't always know what it was doing. So I have learned to check my graph screen. And if you don't know how to check your graph screen, I can pull that out really quick. Your graph screen is that button right there, and you will see no, I'm not in auto mode, just kidding. Okay, I was gonna say that I'm okay. Anyway, you check your graph screen and you look for whether or not it's giving you microboluses. If there is a complete lack of pink dots, if you have seen no pink dots, then you're probably in minimal delivery, and there is a chance that it's going to raise your blood sugar, in the not too distant future. Not necessarily. This is why you got to be looking. That's the bottom. That's the cure, is you have to keep looking. Okay, so what I learned is I check my graph screen regularly, and especially when I'm kind of low or dropping or even very, very low normal. I understand I might be in minimal delivery. When I realize that I've been in minimal delivery, I'm very careful about my carb intake. And I stick to the rules about covering with insulin every carb I have. Sometimes I get away with it. I'm a little low. I can have a few carbs without covering. Not when you're in minimum delivery. I have to cover everything 100%. you stack on carbs onto a suspend, you know, and you're setting up a big rise. And then also be very, very conservative. I have to be very, very conservative in how I treat a low, because I have to remember that there's a double treatment going on. Again, I've been suspended, so I'm missing that basal, and now I'm doing 15 grams of carbs, which can then spiral me out of control in the other direction. So so maybe I eat 15 grams of carbs and cover 7 of it with insulin, and then I start that kind of battle, you know, between what do I rather do, go stay low or go too high, and then watch it. There it is again. And for me, again, I find that once I see the auto mode rise taking effect, I get out, I go into manual mode, I do a full correction bolus, and I let manual mode kind of push at it for a little bit before I go back into the comfortable auto mode, where all is well and happy. And people need me now, so goodbye.